How are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? Today we're going into a deep dive of the album Damn by Kendrick Lamar. This album has 14 songs like Humble, Pride, DNA, Loyalty, and Love. It was made in 2017. The first song kicks off with Blood. This song is mainly an interlude to the album. It doesn't really say a lot, but the first sentence you hear is it wickedness or weakness? We don't know what it means until later in the story. The next song we have is DNA. This song is basically Kendrick Lamar saying, I'm the best at what I do, nobody can touch me. The other song we have, next song, is Ya. This song is him saying, he can tell there's some problems with his life, but he really doesn't care. He's the best at what he does. It doesn't matter to him. He also, in the song, says, I'm not black, I'm an Israelite. That refers to the book of Deuteronomy in the Bible, where basically, never mind, the TV got me. Israelites are the chosen people of God. They're damned until they choose the path of God. The next song we have is Element. Element mainly is the same thing, just him saying, I'm the best. I don't care if I'm damned. It doesn't bother me at all. Feel, however, is a direct response to Element with him saying, I do care. Nobody's praying for me. I'm scared. I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. The next song we have is Loyalty. In the last song he said, nobody's praying for me, so now kick everybody out that isn't praying for me. I only want people that care about me in my life. The next song that we have is Pride. Pride is the number one sin that he deals with. He's the best and he knows it. So why not strut it around? Tell everybody, hey, I am the best. The song after that, though, is Humble. He realizes, hey, I'm the best, but I need to be humble about it, live with God. This song is the biggest turning point in the album. You realize that Kendrick is turning more towards God instead of, I'm the best, I don't care what he has to say about anything. Then we have Lust. This song's pretty filthy in the album. It's not my favorite song. It's pretty dirty. It talks about the bad habits of human beings. Then after that, we have Love. If you can't tell already, he has a big sin that he deals with, and then the next song is how he overcomes that sin with the opposite of the sin, lust, love. In Love, he talks about how, he used to do all these bad things, but he wants to change. He really wants to be a better self. He doesn't want to be damned anymore. Then we have XXX. This song's pretty weird as it kind of totally goes away from the entire story of the album, has nothing to do with what he's talked about, but it is the image of a black man's life in America. It talks about how they're pretty much involved in gang violence and they don't live a very solid life. The next song we have is Fear, a direct response of XXX. He talks about how he's scared of dying, all the fears in his life, and at the very end, it cuts to his cousin, Duckworth, on a voicemail that he sent him, talking about the book of Deuteronomy, telling him that if he doesn't turn towards God, he's going to remain damned, like all the Israelites before him. Then we have God, another direct response to Fear, him saying, if I turn to God, I'm no longer damned, and I do not have to worry about a single thing of going through, feeling alone, that nobody's praying for me, stuff like that. The last song we have is Duckworth. Duckworth is the story of Kendrick Lamar's father, Ducky. Ducky worked at a KFC, which is pretty funny, and there was a man that tried to rob this KFC. Ducky proceeded to give him free food in exchange for him to not rob the place. Years later, Kendrick Lamar signs with an album, and the guy that owns that, or a label, and the guy that owns that label was the man that tried to rob the KFC. So they realized, hey, if I didn't give you free food, you probably would have killed me, and then you would have went to prison, and Kendrick would not be a rapper. Which leads us to a twist of the album. DNA backwards. You realize if you play the song backwards, it's the life of Kendrick Lamar if his dad didn't give him food, and he died. And then Kendrick Lamar grew up without a father and proceeded to, instead of turning to God, he turned into that gang violence where he dies. And that's pretty much the twist of the album. When you play it forwards, it's Kendrick living a good life, turning to God and being a good man, while if you play it backwards, he's a bad man and he ends up dying. And that's my presentation.